Hey there, cats and kittens. Carol Baskin over here at Big Cat Rescue. Oh nope, that's wrong. Sorry, wrong line. Mr. Chris over here at his apartment during virtual learning time. Um, so what I want to do today, guys, is just take you through this. Yeah, no one laughed at that terrible entrance, did they? That's disappointing. Okay. Um, I just want to take you guys kind of through the expectations of what I'd like us to be doing every day, what we should be, things we should be doing, things we shouldn't be doing. I just want to walk you through what I have posted for you here today. I'm trying this Screencastify thing out for the first time. So if this is totally terrible and my voice sounds awful or I have no idea what I'm doing and you're like, wow, this guy, what a boomer. He has no clue what's going on. You can feel that way. Just keep it to yourself. I'm very sensitive right now as I try to stumble through this for the first time. Okay, so um, what I'd like you guys to do is kind of follow along with me as we look at our Google Classroom here. Okay, so just as a quick reminder, we are only meeting on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 10 to 11. Those are the only days you need to be filling out your Google form. Okay, I'll repeat, you only need to fill this out Tuesday and Thursday. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, you are on your own to be working. You do not need to touch this. Okay. If you guys scroll down here with me in our new chapter that we're on, and I will have your tests back and graded to you sometime between now and Monday. But if you look down into chapter 17, I have posted slides that we did the other day for virtual learning. When I'm done with this lesson, I will post our slides that we're going to go through today in here. I've already posted your chapter 17 vocab that's on Quizlet. If you're ever in doubt of like, I'm ahead, I don't have anything to do, I don't have anything to worry about, this would be a good thing that you would spend 10, 15, 20 minutes going over, kind of like we would do in class sometimes, except we aren't in class anymore. So that's kind of on you guys to be looking over those vocab words. We'll try to play a game of Quizlet Live at some point and figure that out at some point, okay? What I posted here yesterday, or pardon me, 2 days ago, it's all blurring together, is our episode of the World Wars, Trial by Fire. I will come back to that later and explain it, okay? But just so we're on board, only sign in Tuesdays and Thursdays. Make sure you are doing your opening questions, okay? What I'm going to have for you guys today, your notes are going to look, here's what my notes are going to look like, and I'm going to open these up, present them, and walk you guys through them. I'll try to be as quick and succinct as possible. You are going to have your own version of these notes that are posted, your student copies. As you can see, they're going to have blanks in them. I'd like you to be filling stuff in based on what we talk about here in the recording, okay? First and foremost, after we get done with our opening question, which I'll come back to in a second, on our schedule that I have posted here, again, because it's Thursday, sign in on your forms. Student news I have posted right here. Again, that's something you can easily find on YouTube and have access to. The second thing I have posted, you don't have to watch it. I really found it nice, interesting, just something to kind of get us out of the doom and gloom of coronavirus and COVID-19. It is called Some Good News with John Krasinski. If you don't know who John Krasinski is, he is Jim from The Office, okay? And he's been doing his own little news program, having some fun guests on there, talking about the good stuff that's going on right now. So I posted that on there to try to lift spirits, or you can roll your eyes at me right now and say, get over yourself, Mr. Chris. There's nothing good in the world, which that's a bummer. Then I'd like you guys to watch, read, fill in the slides that we're going through right now on this lesson. Again, this is going to be posted to your classroom. It also will be uploaded to YouTube. So if you need to watch it more than once, just what you guys want to do, right, is watch me teach this lesson 15 times. If that's what you're doing, we have bigger problems, okay? But it's going to be up there so you can look at it as many times as you need. And then at the very end, I'll show you guys how, like, what this should look like for the World Wars, your questions, and all that other good stuff, okay? All right. All right, I guess we can go ahead and get started then. I've already spent 3-4 minutes talking and we haven't even done anything yet, okay? Internet being really fast. Okay, I'm going to rock, jock, jam, sing a lot during this, okay? So just prepare yourself. Our opening question for the day, for our new chapter. Opening question. This is a political philosophy that glorifies the state ahead of the individual, emphasized by the need for a strong central ruler. I would like credit, everybody. I don't think there's any typos in there. I'm very proud of myself. Okay. This is the part where I take a dramatic pause. Ooh, look at all the hands that are going up. Wow, so many people want to answer this question. You guys are killing it. It is called fascism. You've probably heard of fascism before. It is most notoriously associated with the Nazis of Germany in the 1920s, 30s, 40s. It is also attached and associated loosely with Italy during this exact same time. And as you've seen, if you've watched any of your episode of Trial by Fire yet, we have already been introduced to a very young Adolf Hitler, who will eventually become the leader of Germany and the Nazis, as well as a young Benito Mussolini, as their allied friendship will kind of blossom during this really tumultuous time in history. Okay? So, fascism is what we're looking for there. So, again, there's our schedule for day, stuff you can work on between now and Friday. All I did there was repost your news episode and some good news. For the World Wars, before we get into our notes again, it's a History Channel documentary. It's literally called The World Wars. We are watching episode 1, Trial by Fire. I have posted a way for you. It's right here if you click on it. I've posted the link in here multiple times. It should be unblocked for you. At the end of this lesson, okay, I'm going to explain. That should just open up. Now, if it doesn't, you have a couple options here. Number 1, you could try opening it up on a different device. If you have your phone, if you have a tablet, another computer, your smart TV. Guys, be problem solvers here. Be proactive instead of reactive. Okay? Don't just say, well, it doesn't work. Because the first thing I'm going to ask you is, well, did you try it on anything else? Okay? If absolutely none of those things work, with the link I've sent to you, which you guys can like share to yourself and email to yourself. If none of those things work, contact me and I will try to have it put you in touch with Mr. Matt or Mr. Jeff, and maybe they can walk you through something. Okay. Again, my stupid little plug here. I think this is one of the best documentary series that's ever been put on television. It's going to take us from World War One, the end of World War One, all the way through the end of World War Two, and I mean it's pretty intense stuff, pretty serious stuff, which I think is good. All right, moving on here. Let's get to our notes. So at this point, if you're watching this, I would say to open up your slides and at least have them kind of going at the same time so you can hear me, so you can be filling these things in and get what you need to get here. Chapter 17 is going to be called The West Between the Wars. All right. It's going to be talking about the start of the Great Depression. It's going to be talking about Western Europe specifically. So Germany, France, Britain, and then to a larger extent, everyone's trying to do their never eat shredded wheat, never eat soggy waffles north. Oh my gosh, where America is very far west in comparison to Europe. So it also is going to connect America as part of that as well. Okay. So let's start off here with our first slide. We left World War I with the League of Nations, the Treaty of Versailles, Germany left in ruins. But the League of Nations, very dramatic, like Avengers style, was left there. And the idea was that they were going to keep peace. As we see right off the start, the League of Nations was not very effective in maintaining peace. Here are a few of those reasons. Because every decision involved a majority of its members and countries coming to an agreement. Think about when we're in class and we have to decide on anything, right? It's really hard to convince a unanimous decision of 16, 17, 18 human beings, let alone we're talking about somewhere around the lines of 15, 20, 25 countries and nations with very different agendas, very different beliefs. Now, the second thing, the League of Nations could not mobilize troops without a complete agreement among its nations. So again, in order for them to actually act, to send soldiers, to send anything along the lines of a military decision, it needs to be a unanimous decision. Very hard thing to come to that conclusion on. And again, if you guys remember, think about the difference in what the League wanted to do. France and England, what did they want to do? Oh man, look at all the hands going up. You guys are killing it right now. They wanted to punish Germany. They wanted to make Germany pay. They don't want this to happen again. Whereas other nations along the lines of the United States and other more democratic, further away nations simply just want to maintain and create peace. So that's going to be very hard. And then lastly, many of these countries were suffering themselves from depression, not like sad, bummed out, oh man, this really was hard. I mean, that's happening too. But we're talking about like the actual Great Depression is starting to happen because of the damage and the horrible things that happened during World War One. These countries didn't want to go back to war. I can't stress that enough. As you're going to start watching our episodes of the World Wars, so many times you're going to be looking at your screen going, why wouldn't they do something? Why wouldn't they stop this from happening? Why wouldn't they jump in and intervene? A lot of these countries don't want to go back to war because they've just been devastated by it. Think about when we talked about France and Russia, 75% of their male population getting wiped out during World War One. This is the last thing they want. From an American standpoint, many U.S. senators opposed the U.S. joining the League of Nations, arguing that it would lead to U.S. involvement in future foreign conflicts. Again, simply put, America looks at this as saying, so let me get this straight. Every time someone gets into a tiff or an argument in Europe, we have to step in and get involved. And anytime a war breaks out in Europe, now that we're part of the league, if America would join, now we have to bring our troops, our money, our aid. No, thank you. So despite how much Woodrow Wilson wanted to join the League of Nations, America says, nah, we're good. So again, spoiling a slide we already had to get to here. Why couldn't the United States join the League of Nations? So on a literal, like, why couldn't they? Congress overruled President Woodrow Wilson. They did not allow, based on democracy and based on the votes, they would not allow America to join. And their whole basic concept was this thing called the return to normalcy. This should be like our credo right now as 2020 Oakstone students and teachers and just people in the world right now. Return to normalcy. One day it will happen. One day Mr. Chris will get to watch basketball again. I don't know when that will be. It can't be soon enough. All right, political cartoon time. How'd you know? Ding, 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 ding. I wasn't going to let you get out of this without looking at one political cartoon. All of the eye rolls right now. Hashtag blessed. So, what is the man symbolizing in this political cartoon? Let's zoom in. Let's get there even a little bit quicker. If we really take time, again, in every political cartoon, we look at what is actually drawn. What's the symbolism? How big are things? How small are things? What do they look like? We're looking at all of the words. So, starting up here, this League of Nations bridge was designed by the President of the U.S. We see the actual bridge itself. Belgium, France, England, Italy. We look at the title. Title's always important in a political cartoon. Title being The Gap in the Bridge. And then we see good old Uncle Sam and the Keystone USA. Just by that not being here, again, I think this one's a pretty set them up, knock them down political cartoon as far as what we're talking about. We are talking about creating the League of Nations. The United States is the one that creates it. We're talking about all of our allies during World War I. They have all, figuratively, joined the League of Nations. The United States, however, has not, and as we know, will not. Which means what? Can we really create that bridge? Can we really create that lasting peace? Not really. It makes this bridge weaker. Okay, we all understand if this block was here, we know we could walk right across that bridge a little bit easier. We could make things simpler. But now that we have that gap, you could still get from this side to this side. It's just harder. Issues could fall through. And again, we see that if things don't get over that bridge, they fall a long way down. That's where trolls live. Okay, that's scary. We know that's scary. Be aware of trolls. You have to pay the troll toll. Okay, all good? Wow, you guys nailed that. You guys are on fire right now. Great job. So back to our notes here as we're talking about the demands of France. En français. Oui, oui. Je m'appelle Monsieur Chris. That's French. You should be impressed. Someone's laughing out there. It's not me. Someone's doing it. French government, okay, they demand strict enforcement of the Treaty of Versailles. I think it was because Versailles, where they're from. This tough policy began with the issue of reparations. Remember, what's reparations? Oh, guys nailed it. Yes, the payment of damages from war. So France obviously puts in very, very harsh reparations, which we've talked about. The Allied reparations, that commission determined that Germany owed 132 billion German marks. Yeah, it's not a big number or anything. I got a couple billion marks lying around my apartment, so whatever. Um, Yada yada yada. Basically, what we're looking at here is like that's impossible. Germany's not just like, oh, 132 billion. Let me get my checkbook out. Okay, they put this in what we call installment plans. So they would be paid 2.5 billion marks a year. All right. So sounds reasonable. 2.5 billion sounds better than 132 billion. But again, let's think about this. Germany's reaction. They're looking at it going, how are we paying for this? Our whole country has been decimated. Most of our businesses and companies and industries, if they weren't destroyed during the war, they've been taken away from us. So they look at this as we are unable to pay this large amount. They are angered by this. This is ridiculous. This is outrageous. And again, think about it, after the war to have this kind of we didn't even start the war, hashtag we didn't start the fire, Ryan started the fire. That's going to be a problem for Germany. France hears what Germany is saying. They don't really care. It's just how did the French react to the Germans' decision? France moved further into German territory, taking even more than they originally decided on. Took over factories and plants to earn the money they thought was owed to them. So France's basic stance here is, if you don't think you're going to pay for this, now we're going to take over all those businesses and make sure you're making those things to pay for us. That's going to look along the lines of this. So we see all of these borders that are being taken away along the east over here, along the west here, the Rhineland. We're going to be talking about the Sudetenland down here, which is going to become Czechoslovakia. These eastern borders are going to become parts of what will eventually become Poland and Russia. So we see that Germany is quite literally losing land. And again, these areas like the Rhineland, these areas like the Sudetenland were big industrial factories and plants for Germany. They are taken away, and now their opportunity for business is taken as well. Okay, moving on here to inflation in Germany. Germany, because of their crazy inflation, basically this is where we come up with the idea of hyperinflation, had to print more money to pay salaries, period, just to maintain the status quo. Again, we've talked about this, fifth grade Mr. Chris thought printing more money was a great idea. Why don't we just all become millionaires? Simple. Just hand out cash to everybody. Everyone's happy. We understand that the problem with printing more money, when you have more of something, it becomes less. Yes, great job over there, back right corner, nailed it. It becomes less valuable. So as more and more money is printed, the actual German mark itself becomes basically valueless. Quick little conversion chart here. Germany and American dollars, the comparison. Before World War I, to get one US dollar, it took about 4 marks. Okay? So if you had 4 German marks, that was worth $1 bill, yo. Okay? Beginning in November 1923, so not too long after World War I has come to an end, about 4 years later, it now takes 130 billion marks. Man, you have to have a big wallet to carry around 130 billion marks to get $1. Okay? That should be a shocking, staggering stat. By the end of that same month, in that same year, because of printing more money and hyperinflation, it now takes 4 trillion marks. That's a trillion with a T, people, to equal $1. So as we can see, Germany is in a very, very, very hard spot. So again, think about it. They're paying back billions of dollars in order to pay for those quote unquote billions of dollars. That translates to something, I don't even know what's beyond trillions, zillions, if you want to call it that, of dollars. They have no way of paying this back. In which case we implement this thing called the Dawes Plan to help kind of buffer this whole situation. The Dawes Plan was put in place. It reduced German reparations and coordinated Germany's annual payments with its ability to pay. Quick look at the Dawes Plan before we get there. Again, when money, again, hyperinflation. We're talking about people lining their homes, what's left of their homes, people just using money as far as like fire fuel to burn fire, to line the walls of their homes, to keep them warm. Because when you have this many marks lying around, I mean, to be like, oh, well, almost 4.1 trillion, I need another zero point 0.1 just to make $1, they become valueless, as we see with this giant inflation and just money being littered in the streets. Okay, take a look at this for a second. As for the Dawes plan. So this Dawes plan is put into place. Essentially what the United States does is reaches out and says, hey, we'll loan Germany some money. Again, with a loan, you give them the $2.5 billion, but then you're hoping to get that paid back with interest. So the United States is giving money to Germany. Germany is making its annual payments to the other allies, aka Britain and France. So that money is being shipped back to the allies. However, if we remember, America joins World War I with funding, with troops, with resources, and they have given a ton of loans to Britain and France. So Britain and France, after they receive their war reparations, have to pay, you guessed it, America, with their billions of dollars in war payments. Do we see what the problem is here? This money isn't helping anybody. Not really. It's just kind of going in this big circle of, hey, we'll help you pay this off, and then we'll help you pay this off, we'll help you pay this off. Meanwhile, interest is continuing to grow on this money. And I'm going to ask a little bit of a deeper question here. We're getting close to the Great Depression. What happens if Germany's economy completely collapses? Or the Allies? Or America? Like this thing called maybe, the Great Depression. Can this money be funneled anymore? Yes, you're correct, everybody. No, it can't. It absolutely can't. And then not only does it take down one of these countries, but it will take down all of them into financial ruin. All right, I'm going to try to pick up the pace because I know you've been very patient. I know you think this is funny because I'm hilarious, but I'm going to try to pick it up a little bit. This thing called the Treaty of Locarno, okay? It guaranteed Germany's new western borders with France and Belgium. Again, think of an example of, do you think Germany got a lot of say in this treaty? Short answer is no. Many viewed the Locarno Pact as the beginning of a new era of European peace. Hashtag not Germany. New spirit of cooperation led to Germany finally being allowed to join the League of Nations in 1926. This is nearly 6 to 7 years later. Germany's finally allowed to be back in, on the condition that they are going to implement their own democratic system of government. We'll get back to that in a second. As we can see, the Great Depression is slowly on its way here, okay? Not just the American one, but the European one. A depression simply states a period of low economic activity and rising unemployment. Sadly, I hate that we're recording this lesson right now. We are not in the state of a depression in the United States right now. Well, I mean, I'm depressed. You're depressed. We're all kind of bummed out. We are not experiencing quite an economic depression yet. We're in still a little bit of a recession right now. People are being laid off. Businesses are closed because you can't go in there and touch anybody or cough on strangers and their food. I know. It's not fair, right? So we see that eventually, if that lasted for months and months and possibly years, it could eventually get to an extreme point of a depression. Okay, series of downturns in the economies of individual nations in the second half of the 20s. Just some examples here. Many new countries that finally got their independence and their freedom. Again, we've talked about it. It's not easy to just go, I have a country now. Okay, what am I going to do for an economy? What am I going to do for a type of government? How am I going to tax my citizens? What kind of a military do I want to have? So a lot of these newer nations, Czechoslovakia, Romania, Poland, Hungary, Austria, Lithuania, Latvia, other things that you're like, I have no idea where that is. They are also not in very strong economic states at this point. Hyperinflation is mostly in Germany, just destroying what's left of the German nation. And we have our Dawes plan, passing that debt and damage along to other places. Eventually, we won't get into it today, but in an international, why does it do that? Slides. Why do you have to slide on me? International financial crisis involving the U.S. stock market. We see when stocks are going to fall like that, it can be damaging to all these other places. Much of the European prosperity between 24 and 29 was built on US bank loans. Like we talked about, we are loaning money to these places to kind of keep them afloat, thinking it's okay if we give a little money now, we're in really good shape. They'll pay us back with that interest, and America will maintain its kind of superpower status. How did this affect Germany in particular? Well, in October 1929, our stock market crashes. Yeah, no big deal. During the worst year of the Depression, 1 in 4 British people were then unemployed because this circle we talked about in the Dawes Plan, when our stock market crashes, it affects everybody. And another thing to think about here, democracy goes on the defensive. So as Germany implements this thing called the Weimar Republic, which is a democracy, so they have an elected leader. France and Britain both have democracies. The United States has a democracy. And then all of this happens with the Dawes Plan and the Great Depression. This is kind of a bad look for democracy, right? Again, we have our big red friends over in the East, the rise of, scary word, communism. So as communism is spreading and taking over nations, they're over here just laughing across the lunchroom table like, look at stupid democracy over here. They're in a pit of despair. They're all failing. They're doing terrible. So this also becomes a hard time for democracy. They kind of are embarrassed by this depression and all this unemployment that's happening. As we just mentioned a second ago, Germany. Imperial Germany ended at the end of the war and their defeat in World War I. This thing called the Weimar Republic takes over. It is a democratic state that was created, which was plagued by serious economic problems. Gee, you don't say, Mr. Chris. The Weimar Republic gets put in charge, and then all of a sudden, we have the Great Depression. We have hyperinflation. We have terrible, terrible lifestyles going on in Germany. What do you think that gets associated with? Democracy. A lot of German people are saying, well, when we had a Kaiser and a ruler, even though we ended up losing a war, we were very prosperous. We were doing very well. Now we've put this elected person in charge and senators and representatives. Then now what's happened? We have families that have little to no income. They're losing their homes. We have money flying about in the street. We have people that can't get jobs. Again, this looks really bad for democracy. Depression paved the way for fear and the rise of extremist parties because the people of Germany looked at the Weimar Republic and said, you aren't doing anything. You aren't fixing this. We are still blaming you because you should be able to get us out of this. I don't know if that's a fair criticism, but it's what the people believed. Because of this, spoiler alert, one man in particular blamed the Treaty of Versailles for many of these problems and promised to restore Germany to their once great power. I don't know if you've ever heard of him. His name is Adolf Hitler. He will create what will then eventually become known as the Nazi Party. As you guys are watching your episode of the World Wars and the Trial by Fire episode, you will get a lot into the life of Hitler. Kind of dismissed and pushed away as a young man, looking for some type of meaning and some type of fulfillment. He joins the German army. Man, talk about a cat with 9 lives. As you guys are watching that episode, there's like 4 different times that Hitler probably should have died in World War I as a young 20-something-year-old man. He obviously lives, and then he will be one of the people in these local establishments, bars, restaurants, pubs, town halls, preaching, talking, giving speeches about how the Weimar Republic does not work and how we need to restore Germany to its once great power. Last couple slides here, and then I'm going to let you guys go, okay? France, how they are impacted. After the defeat of Germany, France becomes basically the most powerful country in Europe. Although France had financial problems, they did not really feel the effects of the Depression until the late 1920s, early 1930s. Political chaos will become a huge problem. We'll get to that later on. Mostly because, as a democracy and as somebody kind of ahead of the curve here as far as workers' rights, they have to worry about things like collective bargaining, worrying about unions, negotiating with employees for work weeks, pay, minimum wage. That's expensive. Those things come at a cost. And France is going to end up kind of getting stuck in the Depression like America because of those things. Our next part, Great Britain. 2 million British were out of work at this time. Their Labour Party failed to solve the economic problems and they fell into a depression in 1931. Our godfather of economics here, John Maynard Keynes, condemned the old theory that in a free economy, depressions should be left to resolve themselves without government influence. He jumps in and says, nope, this is beyond a regular depression or recession. We are in the worst economy or economic time in world history. Something needs to be done here. It says here, Keynes felt unemployment came from a decline in demand, not from overproduction. We don't need stuff to be bought because people are just trying to survive. Demand could be increased by putting people back to work on highways and in public buildings. So public work projects is what he was arguing we needed more of. And then we're going to talk about this thing called deficit spending. You may have heard that term thrown around before. It's kind of the idea of, yes, we're going to spend money and put ourselves into a little bit more debt than we already are in. But eventually, once we build those things and have those things that we have built and created, they will create enough money to bring us back out of debt. Lastly, the United States. By 1933, there were 12 million Americans unemployed. FDR, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, wins the presidency in 1932. He pursued a policy of active government intervention in the economy known as the New Deal. He will go on to help create a bunch of public works projects to help stimulate the American economy and give people jobs to then benefit the public. A lot of these things are going to be like bridges, roads, post offices, airports, highways, national parks, things like that. This last sentence here, I got cocky. I butchered it. Um, America basically is not going to be able to get out of this unemployment state. It is not going to be able to completely get through the Great Depression until we eventually join World War II. Nothing brings us out of a depression like having to build a bunch of guns and planes and tanks and all these things that we have to go into factories and get paid to make. All right, hey, you guys have been awesome. I'm going to get like 1 or 2 more minutes here, and then I'm going to get out of here if the internet's going to cooperate with me. Okay. Just backing up my screen again, the World Wars, Trial by Fire, guys. It is, I know it's 90 minutes long, so you're like, oh my God, Mr. Chris, you're the worst. You're a monster. You do not have to sit here and watch all 90 minutes at once. I would encourage you. It chops it up into these like nice 5-10 minute chunks. I would just say, watch a couple of them, okay? As you're going to start off, and then my internet's really slow, but that's okay, okay? Watch little bits of it. Watch 15-20 minutes here, 15-20 minutes there. Understand that your questions, okay, back on our classroom, they are here. All right? Hold on. There we go. So again, your questions are in the doc. Your video is attached right there for you guys to see, which is great. I'm just going to give you a little preview here for those of you guys who might not have watched it yet, assuming this cooperates with me. Bueller. So some of the things I like about this, guys, is that it's going to give you a lot of visual stuff to help you as well. It's going to give you the maps and show us kind of where are we talking about. It's going to draw borders. It's going to show you whether it's our allied side, our central power side. And as we're continuing here, it's going to take you through a whole bunch of different really important leaders. Okay? You're going to get a little preview of Mussolini from Italy, Hitler from Germany, of FDR and Patton from America. Okay? Again, this website here is called Tubi, Tubi, Series of the World Wars, Episode 1, Trial by Fire. Okay? Just something to look out for next week, and then I'll finally stop recording this. Probably Monday, I have a new John Green for you guys. He's actually done a new series right now called European History, but he does a great episode about the Depression and these dictators that are going to rise. So be on the lookout for that next week, okay? All All right, I think that's going to be it for me. Now we're going to see if, oh, there we go. All right, I'm going to let you guys get out of here. Have a good rest of your day. Hey, before I let you guys go, if you've made it this far, if you've listened this entire way through, I know this has been hard. I know you guys are getting overwhelmed with work. I know you guys have a lot going on right now. Okay. I appreciate that and respect that because my life is stressful as well. Not with school stuff, just with think about our daily lives here. Okay. It's not easy. Take some time for yourself. Try to find little things to stay focused on. Do something fun. Find time to listen to music. Find time to exercise. Find time to FaceTime or Zoom or Snapchat or whatever you need to do to get a little interaction with people. Okay. Um, from my standpoint, guys, everyone in here has been doing a really good job. I appreciate your patience and trying to make everything work. I can't say enough how proud I am of you guys for what you're doing. Seriously, I know now Mr. Chris is getting all up in his feelings. Okay, this is a really hard thing. This is a very unique thing. You can remember this for the rest of your lives. Where it's like, yeah, I remember when I was in high school and we just didn't go to school for a month and a half because there was a global pandemic. Okay, so, with that being said, guys, take care of yourselves. Stay safe, stay smart, stay healthy, stay happy. Take care of each other, and I will see you guys later, okay? All right, bye.